This is Valley News Live at 5.
Hello again, everyone. Money's tight these days. Your paycheck just simply won't buy you as much as it once did as prices continue to increase on just about everything. Valley News Team's J.C. Dodd did some digging here in the Red River Valley on how we got here and what it means for the approaching holidays.
Your dollar doesn't buy as much as it used to.
Americans are feeling the sting in their bank accounts as prices for food, gas, and everyday goods increase. Inflation rises and widespread supply chain disruptions continue. Assistant Professor of Finance at Concordia, Angel Coretti, says there are many factors that have caused the rise in prices. The employee shortage affecting almost every industry in the valley is happening worldwide. He compared the long wait you may experience at the local drive-thru to what is happening to the world supply chain.
The same thing happens for companies. If I don't have enough people or the raw materials coming in to make those chips, then I can't. My hands are tied.
As the holidays quickly approach, he says you may not want to wait until Black Friday to do your shopping.
I'm probably going to start to do my Christmas shopping early because there's a very real possibility that I might not be able to get what I want.
I spoke with local grocery store workers who say they've seen the prices on their shelves steadily increase and gas prices rise above the $3 mark. The inflation rate is 5.4%, which means your dollar is worth 5% less. An NDSU assistant professor says if the White House can't convince Americans they have inflation under control,
May decide to make those purchases at Costco sooner, or the big purchases that they've been holding off on.
he says if this happens, inflation will continue to increase.
They want everybody to be confident that the Fed has control over inflation. I think they'll probably convince us within the year, but it might take a while longer than they first thought.
As for the current price increases,
We're just going to have to weather the storm.
in Fargo, J.C. Dodd, Valley News Live.
And as far as the demand for natural gas increases in the winter, experts warn shortages are likely to get worse. President Biden was on the road today pushing his social spending plan, which is still under negotiation in Congress. The president hopes it will include universal pre-K, an extension of the child tax credit, and new investments in child care and the workforce. The director of the Early Childhood Initiative at the Bipartisan Policy Center says their research estimates, on average, nearly a third of children who potentially need care lack access to it. She also says it's not only a matter of cost for parents, but a lack of child care facilities and workers.
In our most recent survey of rural parents, over 80% of parents said one of the reasons they're not going to work is because of childcare.
Smith also says the way to fix the problem is for Congress to pay attention to the gap of affordability and parents and better pay for their caring of children. A former West Fargo computer teacher could spend up to 10 years in prison after a jury delivered a guilty verdict this afternoon. 59-year-old Ronald Thompson was found guilty of luring a minor for sex. It only took the jury 4 hours to reach its verdict. During the trial, prosecutors showed graphic online chat room messages between Thompson and an undercover officer who was posing as a 14-year-old girl.
In these kind of cases, there's always a level of gratification for the prosecutors and for the police, and hopefully as well for the public. Again, I thank the jury for their hard work.
Thompson remains out on bond while a pre-sentence investigation is completed. A sentencing date has not yet been set. If you haven't harvested your garden crops, maybe you should, and soon. Temps were frosty this morning, and they'll again be that way in short order. Hutch is here with the details. Hutch.
Mike, thanks so much, and good evening, everyone. Temperatures in the 5 o'clock hour here are on their way down, and well, I'll tell you what, it looks pretty cold. In fact, First Alert Weather Day has been declared for your Saturday morning, and many of us will see widespread frost, but some of us will actually have freezing temperatures. So Mike's advice is good. Please cover or bring in your plants if you want to protect them. Those tomatoes, you'll have to get them covered up as well. Disconnect those garden hoses and make sure that you can locate that frost scraper just in case the windshield of your car has a little buildup in it first thing in the morning. A freeze warning is in place in all of the counties that you see here in purple as temperatures are expected to get downright chilly. More on that in a moment. Right now, if you're heading outdoors tonight to cheer on the home team, we do have some sprinkles working their way through northwest Minnesota. These are shifting east. The heavier rain is already moving in towards the Duluth area right now. Clearing taking place out to the west of us, and that trend will rapidly move through. So rapidly clearing skies, calming wind, and bitter cold temperatures in the low 30s by morning for many areas. So that's a freeze. Many of us will have frost across the area as well, but it won't last long. I'll have details on a beautiful warm up for the rest of your Saturday as we plan on really challenging some nice warm temperatures as we go through the next few days. I'll have details in a moment.
After what you said early on, you better give us something to chew on.
A little bit of good weather ahead.
All right, thank you.
You bet.
A registered sex offender is facing serious charges after police say he walked into a random home earlier this week. Daniel Grinder entered the home in the 1500 block of 10th Street North. Authorities say a woman was in the bathroom when she heard someone in the kitchen, and that's when she found Grinder playing with her dogs. He told her that he wanted to talk to her, but she told him to get out of the house. Officers later found a handgun in the window well of the home. Grinder was eventually arrested in the 1400 block of North University Drive. Police in Grand Forks, the Grand Forks police officer Cody Holte will be honored for his sacrifice in the line of duty. The 29-year-old was shot and killed while serving an eviction notice last year. Holte is just the second officer out of Grand Forks Police to be lost in the line of duty. He's one of 22,000 officers now memorialized in stone at the Law Enforcement Officers Memorial in Washington, D.C. Officer Holte is remembered for his sense of humor and his unwavering sense of dedication to the community.
We come from a community that most people know somebody in our law enforcement community. It's that type of small town, North Dakota.
The annual National Peace Officers Memorial Service will be held tomorrow at the National Mall. I want to tell you about a motorcycle benefit ride. It's going to be held tomorrow for 10-year-old Kaylee Acevedo. Kaylee was hit by a semi in Crookston earlier this month. Now, this benefit will start at 11 a.m. in the Crookston Walmart parking lot. The ride will go through Fertile and Gentilly, Minnesota, and end with a barbecue at Highland Park in Crookston. Any type of vehicle is welcome and costs about $20 per motorcycle or car. Zimmerman Elementary School in Wahpeton is getting a new roof. The school board approved that project, as well as other repairs within the district. This is the same school that found mold in kindergarten classrooms at the start of the school year. The superintendent says work should start within the next week. The Zimmerman students are learning at Wahpeton Elementary right now, but the superintendent says their school should be open by next August. Fergus Falls Public Schools will no longer be quarantining close contacts of students who test positive for COVID-19. They will quarantine entire classrooms when a positive case of COVID was detected. In a letter from the superintendent, it says they discovered few of those students ever contacted the disease. The superintendent says they also quarantine close contacts if more of them become infected. Due to the rise of COVID cases, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz today announced another battle plan to combat the pandemic. First, he's calling on the National Guard once again to help with emergency response efforts to the pandemic. They'll be assisting with testing sites and staffing at long-term care facilities that are strapped for workers. Hospitals say many of their beds are occupied by patients that should be treated in long-term care settings, but can't because those beds are full and there aren't enough staff to tend to them. The next part of the plan is to increase access to rapid tests across the state. Starting next week, a rapid testing site will be set up in Crookston.
We started in this pandemic of trying to learn as much as we could. We didn't know a lot in the beginning. We gained more over time. We've added tools to our tool chest. In the beginning, it was social distancing and mitigation measures and closures. Then it became vaccinations and testing and other things.
Governor Walz is also asking the legislature to pass policies to assist with the crisis. FDA vaccine advisors voted today to recommend a booster dose of Johnson & Johnson's COVID-19 vaccine at least 2 months after the first dose. The drug maker says studies show boosting at 2, 6, or 8 months can bring the vaccine's effectiveness up to 94%. The recommendation for an extra dose applies to all recipients of the J&J vaccine, 18 and older. This comes after FDA vaccine advisors voted yesterday to recommend booster doses of Moderna's COVID-19 vaccine for some people. Well, here's some exciting news to tell you about. The Federal Communications Commission today granting Valley News Live the ability to crank up the power in our transmission. What this means is we're now operating at double the power, all in an effort to bring broadcasting to you in a better way. Later on Valley News Live at 5, there's no business like snow business. Just ask the organizers of the Vikings pregame show.
No snow business going on in this forecast for us, but it does get mighty cold this evening. Before bedtime, many of us will be in the 30s already. Your hour-by-hour forecast for a chilly First Alert weather day on Saturday morning, but warmer after that. Details are straight ahead.